BYD update with sales numbers from the month of September as the number one EV maker in the world has tapped the brakes before hitting a pothole, and even their DSUS intelligent body control system can't smooth out that shock. This episode will deep dive into the numbers to see where they're at compared to a record-breaking last year and compared to Tesla, who is looking for a strong Q3 with the expiring US tax credits to help close the gap and maybe even catch up to BYD. Plus, an update from a different US billionaire and his stake in the Chinese automaker. Coming into this year, BYD was on a hot streak. Roughly speaking, they did $3 million in global sales in 2023, better than $4 million in 24, so we expected at least $5 million in 25. And to make the numbers easy to remember, 2026 was expected to be maybe $7 million. But reports came out at the beginning of September that their own sales forecast had dropped from $5.5 million down to $4.6 million expected. That's a huge adjustment, but it puts it in line with their performance year to date. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy to achieve that new number. Last year, we saw a massive spike in its plug-in hybrids and e-revs. I'll talk about two new PHEVs BYD revealed this past month, but last year it was the new Quinn L and Seal 06, both DMI, dual mode powertrains. They were fresh entries into the market, very affordable, very attractive to customers looking to get out of a gas car and into a plug-in for the first time that you can still fill up as needed. This year, though, intense competition has made it a challenge for BYD to squeak out year-over-year sales gains, and they're not getting that massive bump in plug-in hybrids. That appears to be just a one-time anomaly, not a pattern. BYD's mix has returned to a pretty normal, even mix between BEVs and PHEVs, and industry-wide, BEVs outsell PHEVs and e-revs combined in China. In order to hit their new sales goal, they'll need nearly 1.38 million global sales in Q4. That's about 9% less than they did in Q4 last year, and even that won't be easy. It's possible that they fall a little short. I believe it's highly unlikely that they don't achieve at least 1 million in Q4. That would be the minimum to match their 2024 full year sales. So this is my range of possible outcomes for BYD. To help achieve these modest goals, they're going to need to sell abroad. And for that, the Jinan is the 8th RoRo vessel to enter service for BYD. And we get some more hero footage for me to share. This is the last of the 8 ships previously announced, and I do not expect more anytime soon. That's because September overseas sales were disappointing. 71,000 NEVs was its lowest volume sold overseas since earlier this year, and it represents only 18% of their total sales. They were trending up towards 25%, halfway towards its goal of getting to 50% by 2023. BYD is growing in Europe, outselling Tesla there in recent months, and plants are ramping up. Slowly. I covered a press conference at the IAA show in Munich. Check out that video. They confirmed that the Dolphin Surf, aka Seagull, will launch in Hungary by the end of the year, likely as a complete knockdown kit or CKD to start and then transitioning to full production. This makes sense, but eventually, many of these plants are intended to reach their full capacity, so BYD needs to attract more customers outside China for all this capacity. In a related story, the Chinese government will now require an export license to ship new energy vehicles out of the country. I don't see this as a trade negotiation tactic like they did with rare earths and magnets, kind of choking off the supply. I see this as a tightening of their grip of how the auto industry is being run. They don't want to see struggling manufacturers in China dump their NEVs overseas to the detriment of strong competitors like BYD. This does not take effect until next year, so we'll see how it gets utilized. Meanwhile, deep in the heart of Shanghai, Tesla did have its best Q3 ever and its best quarter ever, nearly 500,000 BEVs, which means No, they're not going to catch BYD. Expect US sales for Tesla to fall off a cliff in Q4. The sales pop from the refreshed Model Y and the all-new YL in China is going to cool off, and I forecast them to end the year at about 1.7 million deliveries globally, less than last year and far less than what I forecast for BYD. As I teased in the intro, Berkshire Hathaway has sold off all of its remaining stake in BYD. Their portfolio had already sold off 3/4 of its share by this time last year, but by the end of March this year, they sold off their last remaining shares. I don't see this as a slap in the face. Berkshire notoriously sells off shares in companies, like Apple, not due to a lack of confidence, but they just like to take profits when they can. Nothing wrong with taking profits. Since their initial investment way back in 2008, BYD stock has risen 4,300% in value. So yeah, Berkshire Hathaway took that to the bank. As for new products to keep sales growing, there were some new models revealed. However, none are particularly high volume. The Denza N8L and FangChengBao Tai 7 are both larger SUVs targeted at families in China. A very interesting demographic challenge. China ended its one-child policy a decade ago, but like many countries, they've become more affluent. So you see couples putting off marriage and having smaller families when they do. China wants more children, and automakers are tapping into this notion that in order to be a smart parent, you need an intelligent electric SUV to transport them in. Neither of these will be high-volume models. Both are plug-in hybrids, not a full battery electric, although versions of that could come later. Large SUVs can work well as a BEV, but as a PHEV, they can offer combined longer range for more adventurous road trips with your young growing family. The FangChengBao is a two-row SUV. The Tai name means it's more oriented to on-road driving versus Bao, which is more off-road. Tai 7 comes with a standard single motor combined with a 1.5-liter four-cylinder engine. Optional dual electric motors add all-wheel drive and even more power to the same gas engine. The Denza N8L comes in just under its flagship N9 and is also targeted at families with a host of clever kid-friendly features, including a third row to encourage young families to, dare I say, have more than just two kids. Since it's a premium Denza, it comes with a larger gas engine and features their signature tri-motor setup for more power and standard all-wheel drive. But the ultimate people-hauling BYD was unveiled last month as the new eBus 3.0 platform. Again, not going to move the needle on sales volume, but an important product, and it generates revenue. I really want to do a separate deep dive video into this because, I'm a geek. I've also been busy covering electric tractors in the US, analyzing efficiency and charging data collected on Windrose, Tesla Semi, and with Volvo and Freightliner data coming soon. Not sexy, but it's important technology to help clean up freight transportation. In between that and some other events, I hope to find time to break down that new BYD electric bus platform. So keep an eye out for that, and thanks for watching.